toys and TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know. But don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
Day number 32, I believe, of self-quarantine. How's everybody doing out there? You all have different numbers of days, but I think I started on March 12th. As we sit here, it is April 14th. Anybody?
Yeah.
Doing okay.
I actually left my house today for a few minutes. First time in like 2 weeks.
We went and got lunch at a food truck that's nearby and, wore masks and gloves. There weren't too many people, but wanted to support small businesses.
That's good. That's
Go
good
support small businesses.
Yep.
I had a grilled cheese, but instead of only cheese, it was mac and cheese in the middle of the grilled.
I've had that before.
Oh, nice.
Was it good?
Excellent.
Yeah.
We've got a burger place around here that does like gourmet burgers, and they have a mac and cheese burger that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 places around that do pick up that were basically lunch places, and I've got lunch there a couple times, just to keep throwing some money at them because that's important. It's a tough time for that industry.
The problem that I have is with 5 of us in the house, and everybody, I can never get anybody to agree on what they want. So we've mostly been making food here, but I think we've only gotten takein once since this whole thing started.
Yeah.
We're trying to do it once a week. Honestly, I mean, not that it's a big deal, but I just want to support these restaurants that are staying open and, skeleton staffs and trying to get them to. So we're trying to do it once or probably. And Pam's at the point where she is just so sick of cooking. We are each taking me and Mark are both taking one night a week to cook. That's about the most I can handle, but
so I'm trying to picture what that would be like when Evan was Mark's age, and it's horrifying. So what does Mark make?
What did he make? He's 17, just for the listening audience, but he's like, he looked up a recipe. I'm gonna make a pork shoulder and something. I'm like, you're not. Where are you getting that from? And then he wound up making some sort of warm pasta salad, which was with grilled chicken, which was fine. I think that's the only thing. Oh no! And the other day he made pizza. We had dough, and he made which is
that is impressive. He gets points. Again, at his age, Evan would have made boxed macaroni and cheese, ramen noodles, or he would have cooked hot dogs in the microwave.
Nice.
My son would have put a box of Lucky Charms on the kitchen counter, and that would have been everybody's meal.
Mark, the past couple of years, he would make himself breakfast before school every morning, and sometimes it'd be bacon and eggs and stuff.
He's a wrestler too, so he's got the food consciousness. So
he's I don't know if he hasn't looked like he's gained weight, but he's definitely off of that. But I made my first night. I think I tweeted a picture. The first time I made the pasta from Chef Scarlett's pasta, only because Scarlett Johansson loves it. And I made calzones.
Did she come over or no?
She didn't come over. The only reason she didn't come over because it's quarantine.
Right.
Other than that, she would have been here. But anyway,
I don't know if we couldn't get Val Kilmer to pay attention. We ain't getting Scarlett Johansson to pay attention.
Yeah.
Hey, we some of us have been in the same room with her, so
Yes, that's true. But hopefully you're all staying safe. We won't. Well, today we are going to talk about some things that you can maybe do to help some people, and we'll get into that. And talk about some other stuff. Why don't we go random?
Dave, you're going to go first, right?
I'm going to go first. That is correct. Okay, I know this coronavirus is difficult. Another difficult situation I have to discuss, which is not good, and it's pretty horrible, but the last season of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be premiering in May. And
oh, boy. That's bad.
And
wait, of all the things they could put off?
Yeah, I know. Like, major shows and movies are being put off, but that's got to happen. I got to say, I haven't watched any of the Shield of the not the Shield of the Arrowverse shows, the CW shows. I just cannot bring myself to sit there. It's one thing when you're on a train on your way to work, you could look at your phone and stuff. I guess you could do it at home, but I just cannot bring myself to watch those. And I really don't know if I'll watch this.
Wait a minute, Dave. Just to be clarified, so you're saying those shows didn't all end with the crisis? Okay, because
They should have.
That's kind of what I got to say. I think I watched 2 Flashes after that and 1 Batwoman, and I haven't gone back to the well.
And
so.
and some of them are either back or coming back. They took like a 3 or 4 week break, and now they're back. I just don't know if I can bring myself to watch it. Anyone?
Wait, there's DC shows on TV?
Yeah.
Oof. But are you guys gonna watch Shield? I'll watch the first episode.
I'll watch
if
it.
It sucks, I don't know if I'm going any further.
I am going to go full Todd Pleasant on this. I've gone this far. I'm going to finish it.
And that's what I was just going to say, Barry. It's like, why would you take the train this far to the end and
because
not ride
the train is rat
Derailed
infested and it just smells like dead bodies. I mean, it's just awful. That's the train.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully,
No,
is it
I'm gonna
possible
finish
it's
this
like
one.
a 2-episode season? Is that possible?
I think it is a short season, but I don't know how many episodes it is.
Oof. Anyway, what else does anyone have?
One word, Daisy. That's all I'm going to say.
So it's funny. I read this morning, and it's not even on my list of things I wrote down because I forgot to write it down. But because you mentioned S.H.I.E.L.D., I saw something today that said, it's a rumor, of course, but Ming-Na is apparently going to be in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and her character apparently was not dead, but wounded when we saw her last. Fennec Shan, I think the name was. But yeah, her character apparently is returning for season 2.
Yeah, I didn't think she was dead.
I didn't think she was either.
I think she's like clones. I think she's going to get killed in every season and keep coming back. So
She's the only decent actor they had as a guest, or one of the few. So
I don't know. I think Gus Fring is good too. So
yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
But there's been some horrible ones.
right.
So going to my actual random, I've never heard of a website called We Got This Covered. Have you guys heard of it? Apparently it's an entertainment website.
No, yeah.
All right. So there's this entertainment website called We Got This Covered. And they are reporting that Lucasfilm has plans to bring Hayden Christensen back to Star Wars. And then he's lined up for cameos in multiple Disney Plus series, including Kenobi. Now they go off the rails here. They say that the planned Ahsoka TV show, they have not announced an Ahsoka TV show, but they're saying that he's going to show up in that. And they're saying he's going to show up in The Mandalorian.
This is like one of those websites like there's one, is it comic book?
Yeah,
something
they're
that
also
just
affiliated
makes
with
up stuff.
the parallel website. We pulled this out of our ass.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, sources close to Lucasfilm, bullshit. But I was at least just parsing this out for a second. If he were to be in Kenobi, it would have to be as Darth Vader. I mean, this is
it could be flashback. It could be. There's a lot of things they could.
And how would he be in Mandalorian? He's dead. Kenobi's dead.
What I
mean,
saying, it's just no.
That's stupid. They're idiots.
I read a kind of a parallel thing, and again, there's still no confirmation on Rosario Dawson,
but no denial either. So it's,
no denial.
It's
happening.
It's as good as real.
But one of the things I read 2 weeks ago, we didn't do, or a week ago, we didn't do random, was they said that she's basically getting the first Marvel-esque contract in the Star Wars universe, where basically she's being signed to play a character without it being specified which series she's in.
So wherever she shows up,
and for specified numbers of appearances, but not specified, so that basically, which is what they did which is how Gwyneth Paltrow didn't know what film she was in, other reasons, but that's how apparently they've been doing the Marvel contracts, where it's not like a 2-picture deal or 3-picture deal. It's X appearances across the spectrum.
right?
And so apparently that's what she's signing on to.
I can see that. Look, I know we're going to talk about Clone Wars at a later date when this season ends, but it's been really good. And this last arc that just ended was 4 episodes featuring Ahsoka, and they were really good.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I've got 2 more to go. So it's good. I think she's going to be fantastic. So my other thing with her, because every week I have a Rosario Dawson thing, and will until they confirm this. But in an interview last week with Variety, she said that her biggest career goal is getting in both Star Trek and Star Wars universes. So
Wow.
she wants to. She said she would not confirm or deny Ahsoka, but she did say that she wants to also get into Star Trek somewhere. And that would make her career as far as she's concerned.
She just wants to guarantee that every nerd in the world has a crush on her because she's been in Marvel. She wants to be in Star Trek and Star Wars.
She's doing it. But anyways, I found that very, very interesting. So, Barry, have you got another one?
I do. So I texted you guys about this the other day. There's a new TV show. There's a new show coming on Disney Plus starting May 1st. Called Prop Culture, and it's a guy named Dan Lanigan, who Dave might know as the guy who owns Deckard's Blade Runner pistol, the real one.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he was on that.
He was on that
Savage
tested video
episode.
Yeah. So he apparently is a big time prop collector. I think he also may own one of Luke's lightsabers or whatever. But he's hosting the show. I guess Disney hired him to, as a host to come in, and the whole thing is it's about props from Disney movies. So, and they're dropping all the episodes in one shot on May 1st. So I don't know if it's 4 episodes, 6, 8. I don't know how many it is, but I'm excited. I love looking at that stuff. Cool. And it's going to be, close-ups on some pretty amazing props that have never been shown before. So I'm looking forward to that. So more binge watching coming in a couple weeks on Disney Plus.
So I got a last thing that I had read earlier this week and I found kind of interesting. And so it's basically a rundown of all the people who were in consideration for the 6 primary Avenger roles. Did either see this?
No.
So this is really interesting. So Tony Stark, famously, Tom Cruise was in consideration, but
I heard.
I think that's just prior to, I think that's a prior incarnation. Timothy Oliphant, who was in Deadwood and Justified.
It would have been awful.
I cannot see it at all. In no way, shape, or form can I imagine that. Hugh Jackman.
No.
Sam
like Hugh
Rockwell.
Jackman.
And that's how he got on the radar and ended up being in Iron Man 2. So, and then obviously Robert Downey Jr. Now Thor is really, really interesting. Daniel Craig, okay, who was interested but had to turn it down because of other commitments. Charlie Hunnam, who from robot fighting movie, and also the motorcycle series. Anyways,
Sons of Anarchy.
Thank you. Alexander Skarsgård, who would have been awesome, and
True Blood.
Alexander Skarsgård,
right, from True Blood, right?
Yes,
he has to bulk up with 50 pounds of muscle.
He
though.
would,
yeah.
but again, he totally had the Thor look, and he was I at the time before they cast Thor, he was who I thought. Channing Tatum, Joel Kinnaman, okay. Again, kind of same thing. He doesn't seem quite bulky enough. Also, Liam Hemsworth, and then Paul Levesque, who's a wrestler who goes by Triple H. But they thought that he had the physique, but they didn't think he had the acting chops.
He definitely doesn't have the acting chops.
So this is really interesting. Captain America, okay. Channing Tatum, Garrett Hedlund, I don't know. Dane Cook, again, Alexander Skarsgård, Jensen Ackles, Scott Porter, Mike Vogel, Sam Worthington, Ryan Phillippe, John Krasinski, Sebastian Stan, and Will Smith, which is very interesting.
Could you imagine even John Krasinski as Captain America?
Nope, I cannot.
No way.
I gotta say, I think Jensen Ackles could have done that.
Yeah,
I don't even know
he's
who
got
that is.
Look.
I think he at that period, if you think of that time, I think he could have been young Steve, and he could have been,
Yeah. Who's the other? Is the guy the brother-in-law on Chuck? Is that one of those guys? Because he was always thought of.
I can see
I remember thinking he definitely had the Captain America look.
Yeah, he would be.
I don't know if it's one of those guys. I don't know his name.
I miss Chuck.
Yeah. On Hulk, the interesting thing is Mark Ruffalo was second runner-up for Ed Norton in the 2008 film. And had they gone with him, and so he was their only choice when they went to make the Avengers, because they obviously figured out they screwed it up. Black Widow, Jessica Biel, Gemma Arterton, totally wrong. Jessica Alba, Angelina Jolie, no. Eliza Dushku apparently campaigned for it, but there's no evidence that she actually ever got a audition.
She's not a good enough actress.
And then Natalie Portman, who actually, I guess, tested for it.
Interesting.
So
she doesn't do action though.
Yeah. And well, I guess kind of. But anyways.
Kind of.
And the last one, Hawkeye, Jensen Ackles was the first choice for Hawkeye.
Really?
But they couldn't get him out of his supernatural commitment. And so it went to Jeremy Renner.
They have a similar look.
So remember when that was a very small part in Thor. It was a minuscule part in Thor. And but that's what they wanted him for.
That's the thing. If they had gotten him, they would have wanted having to recast him because he probably couldn't have done even the bigger roles.
Yeah. Oh, the other one I missed this. The other one for Black Widow that I actually think would have been good was Emily Blunt. So if you take the time period, I think she could have done that. So,
but you listen to this, it's easy to say, but they made great choices with everybody.
Yeah,
they picked.
I mean,
really
any of them
yeah.
could have turned out to be good in those roles, but it's hard to now look back after all these movies and go how and they're all just so perfect in those roles.
They really, really are, and they're again iconic. They've all stood the test of time. It was more than just I think, like I said, I think the Hulk choice they fixed in Avengers, and he's kind of
any other random.
No.
You know who also stands the test of time?
Yes.
Fanboy Collectibles. Check those guys out. There's a cool Batgirl statue with a little bat holding up her cape.
I have a different Batgirl statue on pre-order, and if I didn't, I'd be seriously interested in that. That's a cool statue.
Yeah, that is pretty cute. I like that.
Cool.
It's based on a cover art. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's Pops and there's Hot Toys and there's Sideshow and there's Kotobukias and there's everything you need. There's Baby Yoda's in there. There's Star Wars stuff. There's everything you'd ever want. So check those guys out. They're a small business too. If you need to buy something, order it online, helping them out.
Get your nerd fix.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We can't be the only ones who support them.
I'm sure
this virus is no problem. We got Todd. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah, I'm getting over the hump.
Yeah, so. Exactly. But check them out. Give them a look on Facebook, and also their Instagram is cool. Tell them the Regular Joe sent you. Buy something. Okay, where are we going now? We're going to Workbench. What's on my workbench?
Well, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning.
Regular Joe's What's on My Workbench.
Who wants to go? Barry, what's on your workbench?
All right, I've got to step away for a second. I'll be right back. All right, so I don't know, 9 months ago now, probably, I was at Hobby Lobby doing just some shopping, and I found a model kit of a B-17 bomber, which is my absolute favorite airplane. Let me just turn off my virtual background here thingy so that you can actually see this. So I found this kit, and it was in the clearance rack for $6. It was actually under $6. It was $5 and change. So I bought it and put it aside for a rainy day and said, all right, one of these days I'll build that. And when I got quarantined here, self-quarantined, I should say, I decided to take it on. I now know why it was a $5 model kit, because it is not well made, which required a lot of extra work on my part. It's not finished yet. I did get the wings fully attached. The problem with this kit is that it doesn't fit together real well, so I've ended up having to do a lot of work to it after the fact. The fun part for me was sort of figuring out the order of operations, because there's stuff inside. You've got tiny little characters that go in the cockpit and in all the gun turrets and in the gun openings. And so you've got to really figure out how you want to build it out. The windows attach in from the inside, so you've got to get the interior done before you seal it up. I did a lot of work to get to that point. And then when I got there and I sealed it up, the two halves did not fit together very well. So once that was done, and I had already, it's a two-tone paint job, so the top and bottom are different colors. The tips of the wings are different colors from the rest of the wings. The back wings are a completely different color than the rest of it. So there was a lot of intricate painting that had to happen. And then, so I got all that done thinking I would just seal the whole thing up, glue it down the middle. When that didn't fit properly, it required a ton of extra puttying and sanding after I'd already painted, which was not what I wanted to do. So I'm getting to a pretty good place with it. I'm almost done. I've got to put the glass on the front. I've got to put a bunch of other pieces of glass, and I've got to attach a bunch of the guns. But then I've got to do decal work on it. But
cool.
It's been frustrating. Although I will say I'm happy with for a $5 and change model kit.
It looks good.
If you put enough work into it, you can make it look good, and I think that's kind of the point of all this. But
so two questions, Barry. One, how long have you been working on this?
I've probably got maybe 10 to 15 hours into it.
Okay. Over how many days?
Over the course of like 2 weeks so far.
Okay, because they could have built a real one in that time. I'm just telling you, at the height of World War II.
And most of that is painting, because
10 days.
A lot.
10 days.
Yeah, a lot of it is painting, and I needed to do a lot of masking to get, because the two-tone paint job kind of goes right down the middle of the bottom of the plane, and then like the bottom of the engines are a different color than the top of the engines, and then I don't know if you can see it on camera here, but these tips of these engines are a different piece that attach on, and the paint extends a little bit onto those. So getting all that to line up so that when you finally assembled it, everything lined up in the right spot. So there's a lot of paint work on here.
Now, you said this is your favorite plane. Why is that?
I've always loved this plane, and when I first started going to air shows, they had a B-17 that they used to bring around every year to Long Island to the air shows, and I got to go inside one. And
that's what I suspected, because I remember as a kid, it was one of those air show planes that they had.
So, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this when it's done. It's actually pretty big. It's got like a 14-inch wingspan. So I don't have no idea where it's going to end up. If I may give it to somebody as a gift, I don't know yet. But, it's finally, I'm getting past my frustration on it and getting back to where it actually feels like it's coming out pretty good. So
cool.
That's what's on my work.
It's a good thing to, I mean, you do this anyways, but it's a good thing to do in this kind of time. Just have a project that you can focus on that kind of gets you.
And it's something that I'm able to do.
So it's definitely a good thing to do.
In
Dave,
like little
do
bits
you have
and
a favorite
pieces.
plane?
Do I have a favorite plane? I probably don't. I like the Mustang,
I would say I go back and forth between a P-51 Mustang and probably a DC-3 for different reasons. But
also whatever Tom Cruise flew in.
whatever
Tomcat. Love the Tomcat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's actually been great because working from home, like if I get a 10-minute break, I can actually do a little thing on it or two, which is nice which is obviously that's a new experience for me, because usually my most of my modeling gets done either sort of late at night or early in the morning on the weekends. So
that's why nice I find the people I'm talking to who don't have all the hobbies that we do are taking this time harder than I think those of us who do.
Yeah.
Because, even I got back, 3 hours a day without commuting. So by 5:30, 6 o'clock, I could work on a project, and after dinner, I was working on something that's not what's on my workbench, but I was working on a project. and it just keeps you, it just stops the monotony of, wake up, work, eat. No, it's wake up, eat, work, eat, work, eat. It's just like just the sitting down for lunch every single day and the same exact. It's just mind numbing. But
I mean, I even found today I had a 15-minute break between meetings and lunch and whatever, and I actually picked up one of my guitars and played guitar for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I've never been able to do that in the middle of a work day before. So, there have been a few advantages to what has otherwise been a fairly trying.
But if you're having a hard time, just find something, a hobby, And there's people. It's not easy. It's I have this discussion with Pam all the time because she's doesn't really have indoor hobbies. It's tough. You can't just force a hobby onto somebody.
No, you can't. You can't. I will say, learning a language is a good one. It's a thing that people don't have time to do generally. Gunda está casa de pepe. No.
Casa de pepe está ahí.
Oh, yeah, I've been learning Klingon.
Yeah. I'm too old to learn how to speak another language.
Yeah, me too.
That's
all
right.
So
go ahead.
Who wants to go next?
Dave.
I'll go.
All right, Dave.
Oh, that's right. So I have a twofer. One is I had started. This was on the last workbench. This is the and you guys saw this, the holiday special lightsaber.
Yeah,
yes,
nice.
Which is awesome.
Good update.
I've gotten through so many different projects. I'm working on a bunch of different stuff just because I need to keep my mind occupied. Otherwise I go crazy. But anyway, this was the first quarantine project. So this happened pretty quick. So I'll put pictures of that up, but I think it came out very well, and all in for a little over $100. Not bad. So
it's cool. It's not my favorite lightsaber design ever.
But it shouldn't be. That's the whole idea. It's
a really cool thing that you built it and that you found out about it the way you did.
I love the fact that most people don't even know what it is, and that's what's cool. There's almost
they look at it and they're thinking, "Boy, that is a cheesy ass lightsaber."
But
that is like the worst lightsaber replica I've ever seen.
Yeah. But
we did our group chat last weekend or the weekend before? Yeah. You were able to hold it up in front of a group of people who actually knew what it was, which was pretty surprising.
What were there, 6, 7 of us?
7 of us, yeah.
And originally, only 2 of those people knew what it was.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what's cool. But
even if you know what it is, you haven't seen it.
Yeah. So me and Barry are big fans. Before I found this, neither one of us ever knew what it was.
This is what I'm saying. So, even if you know what it is, it's like you've never really seen it sit still for long. So
So that's that. And then this week I took on a very quick project. Barry, I don't know if you saw on Tested. Did you see that guy Sean did a little video of what I'm working on?
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna hold up a card, and I want you guys to guess what's on the card. Todd, you first.
What's on the card? I would say one of 4 suits of, I don't know. It's an ace of spades.
Does anyone know what these are from?
Oh, these are from
Bacon
yes,
strips.
Perfect. From
Ghostbusters. This is why I was poking around about the Beekman pH meter. So these are the cards that Venkman used in the first Ghostbusters to test ESP, and he kept shocking the guy and not shocking the girl.
So they have a bicycle playing card back?
It is a bicycle playing card back, and supposedly they used to sell these. Of course, you can't find them now. So this guy on a Tested video was making them, and Avery, label makers, makes these labels that completely block out what's under them. So
nice.
I designed these all in Photoshop, and I printed them out, and there's 5 of them.
Oh, wow.
A square, squiggly lines, a square, a star, a plus sign, and the circle. So these are the 5 cards. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but they are. And I bought the deck from Amazon, and and of course, I've got a set for each of you.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Sweet.
I was just going to say,
because I don't know what you're going to do with them.
Oh, totally. You need to put them together, fanned out, and stick it in the back of behind your Ghostbuster stuff.
Yeah.
So fan it out like a hand of cards and have it like that make a great display.
Yeah. So that was a fun little
When you were
project.
just doing that, all I could think of was the Phantom Menace when little Anakin was being drilled by the Jedis, and he's like, a cup, a ship, a speeder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the girl in there was super cute too. If you
Oh,
remember
yes, she
that
was.
scene. But and I did find one of those things. The shock device is this thing called the Beekman pH meter from, I guess, the 40s. There's one on eBay right now. It's too much for me to buy because I don't even know what I'd put it, but
Well, and we all did just spend a little bit of money on some other stuff that we'll talk about at a later
more
date.
on that later.
Yeah.
But I made there's 5 each. I made 25 cards. I could make another 25. I've got this big giant set of cards.
Nice.
Todd, what's on your workbench?
So I've been trying. I still got to work every day, and but I don't like to. I have to go in for certain things, and I end up with a bunch of extra time at work because I need to do things in the morning and I need things in the afternoon. But I've got some downtime in the middle of the day, hopefully when I don't have meetings scheduled. And so I've been trying to come up with projects I can do while I'm there. And I told you guys that the first week we Jason and I repurposed some iPads that we had some old iPads that were old enough not to be really useful to the kids or the teachers, but we made them basically into Skyping and FaceTiming terminals, and we donated them to a nursing home nearby that had a number of COVID-19 patients and sadly had a number of deaths there. So then for a little later, I talked to someone at a hospital nearby, and I ended up taking 2 old iMacs and doing basically the same thing. And we made visitor terminals made a terminal so a patient could be brought to one and talk to someone else who was at risk, who couldn't be brought in to see them. So we basically, nice. It kind of made so even if you made it into the building, but it was decided that your circumstances were such that you shouldn't go further in the hospital, you're actually able to converse with a person.
Oh, that's great.
So I kind of exhausted those resources, and I started thinking about what I had left, what I still had left. And I have a bunch of old laptops, and most of these are like older Windows laptops and things like this that have been either upgraded out of usability or the batteries are weak or whatever like that. So they're not super viable machines. But there's a lot of kids like learning from home right now. And so what I just started doing some research, and I found out I've done this before, but did it years ago, how you turn an old Windows laptop into a Chromebook. And it's dirt simple. It'll run on, because Chromebooks have very minimal resources, it'll run on almost no resources whatsoever. So you could have a 500 gigabyte hard drive or a 100 gigabyte hard drive for that matter, and 2 gigabytes of RAM, and have a well-running Chromebook. And so I've done 11 of these so far and given away 9 of them to kids who didn't have, to local kids who didn't have computers. And so they can keep up with their things. Because a lot of the schools have kids on Chromebooks. They're expecting them to distance learn, but they're not sending them home with devices. So through some of my coworkers, I found kids that could use these, and that was my thing. And you can do this, anybody that's got a kid who's studying at home that you want your own device for, but you've maybe got an old laptop sitting around that doesn't seem functionally useful at this point. Very, very minimal requirements. Your laptop that wouldn't upgrade above Windows XP or Windows 7 or whatever is a perfect candidate for this. There's a good article on CNET. It's the one that I follow. It was updated recently. You need an 8 gigabyte thumb drive and a laptop, and you're good to go. So it's a really cool project.
That's cool.
And like I said, versus them sitting on the shelf. And again, 4 or 5 of these that I gave away, they've got to use plugged in because the batteries are functionally dead at this point in their life. But still, it's a computer where somebody didn't have a computer. So, and one of the other things too, like with this, is that a lot of these families found all of a sudden they have 4 kids doing distance learning. They didn't have computers in the house for all, they didn't have a family computer for each kid. So it's worked out good. So, anyways,
that's great. That's totally helping people out.
So
that's awesome. And that does lead into our next segment, which is we've been talking about different things. Obviously, there's people who are sick, and that's horrible, but there's other businesses and stuff. And I had read this article in the Hollywood Reporter this week that tied into what Todd was saying a couple weeks ago, where comic book stores are really hurting. Because, comic book stores are not like Barnes & Noble. The majority of them are probably owned by one guy or one person or one woman or one.
Definitely mom and pop.
It's definitely a small business, and and I guarantee you don't go into the comic book business because you're going to make a killing. You go in the comic book business because that's something you want to do and you enjoy it and you love it. So they probably operate on very tight margins, and something like this is putting them in a really tough spot. So that's what this article tied in, which was great. Rob Liefeld, famous artist, invented Deadpool, things like that, and Jim Lee, who runs DC, I guess, right now, famed artist, and comic book creator, both of them. So what they're both doing is doing a sketch a day. They started maybe 2 weeks ago, and they are auctioning off these sketches on eBay. And Rob is literally, each sketch, just the money goes right to a comic shop that he picks. Like the article was talking about, I think, one in Nashville, and the Nashville one didn't even know they were getting it, but he put up this piece of art, and the money was paid. Whoever won it was paid right to this comic book shop. So they're both doing those for, I think, at least 60 days, which is awesome. And great. Jim Lee is going to this book industry foundation charity, this particular thing is helping. He's going right to a charity where it's helping comic retailers, and Rob is doing something that's going to individual comic book stores. But so the way if you are so inclined to want to bid on this stuff, you can go on Rob Liefeld, Liefeld on Instagram. He's putting up pictures, and then in his bio there is a link to his auctions. You can also go on, I guess he's a G.I. Joe fan. Oh no, it's not him. Someone else is doing the auctions for him. It's O-Ring Monkey, like O-Ring in a little G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah.
O-R-I-N-G Monkey. And that's where his stuff, right now there's a Deadpool one. I think there's a Snake Eyes, I believe, because actually the cover he's doing for a new Snake Eyes series, he's using this drawing and auctioning the cover art off. And then he just did a Scarlet that went up today. And then Jim Lee, another monkey thing, I don't know why, on eBay, Chunky Monkey 0000, and he's auctioning off Batmans and stuff. So if you got the money and you're into this kind of stuff, bid on those things and you could win that, and they certainly are helping people out.
That's a great way to get a great original piece of art and to help out a comic shop.
Yeah, that's a really,
Jim Lee's
really
are going
idea.
for considerably more money. They're in the $7,000 to $10,000 range, and Rob's are in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. But and then some of these are literally cover art, so that's awesome. The other quick thing I just want to mention in terms of this, the Star Trek tour that we talk about all the time, upstate New York, Ticonderoga, New York. Again, another small business. They're shut down. They put something on their website. It's a tough time for them as well. If you could buy a gift certificate for a future visit, or even buy a T-shirt, that would help them out in this time. I wound up going on the line and buying a T-shirt from them. Just, we love that tour. Love to support them. For me to throw down $35 to buy something to help them out.
And when you think about, Ticonderoga, New York, there's not a ton of stuff going on up there business wise. There's a famous fort up there, and they do get some tourist dollars. But this we've said it before. This is a place that is kind of, for all intents and purposes, in the middle of nowhere, and it's this amazing gem, like science fiction gem in the middle of nowhere. And, again, they don't operate on huge margins either. They're making their money off of tour groups coming through, and it's all tourist driven. I'm sure it's not a ton of the people that live up there supporting it the way tourists do. So, and there's a bunch of people that work there, and all those people are out of work too. So like it is, you don't even think about, buying a t-shirt. We buy t-shirts all the time. We used to have a segment on the show we did every week about t-shirts. So we've got plenty of t-shirts, but it's nice to be able to, do something to help those guys out. Like I can't wait to get back up there and go visit again. And
we actually planned a trip for like a Mark's graduation with his friends. They wanted to go to Lake George, and I'm like, all right, I'll drive you up there. And Pam's like, why don't we just go and let them do their thing and we'll do our thing? And I'm like, yeah, I know where I'm going. So, but I don't know if we're going to be able to go. It's coming up soonish.
I want to work out a time when all three of us can go together. I just think that would be awesome. And I think we need to wear uniforms.
Well, and it's funny because Lake George is a place that my family loves too. And Maria was even saying the other day, like, let's see how this, spring and summer go. But maybe if things are starting to get back to normal, maybe like August, we take a trip up to Lake George. So anytime I hear Lake George, my ears perk up because I'm like, ooh, that's close to Ticonderoga.
Yeah, we're going to go. I'm not broadcasting the date because I don't need people breaking in my house. But
I was thinking you'd be mobbed at the set tour, Dave. That's what I thought you were concerned with.
All your fans would show up.
But if we don't go on that date, then we'll definitely go before summer. So, the summer's up, so I'm definitely going again this year.
Did you get the Starfleet Museum t-shirt?
That's the one I got, yeah.
Okay, that's the one I'm ordering right now, too.
The other one was cool, too, but I figured that one I could actually wear in public. I don't know if I'd wear the other one in public.
I got to tell you, when the Desilu one
I know. That was
comes
cool.
back in stock, I wouldn't mind that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So,
but if you ever thought about going there, buy some tickets now, help them out, and then go tell them the regular Joe sent you. No, you don't need to, but whatever. What you guys haven't gone? So Barry, what do you want to highlight?
I don't have anything.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
No, I knew that you had a couple good ones, so
yeah,
I didn't know.
This is good. So
cool. So those we'll start bringing stuff like that up. But again, I'm not saying if you're out of work and you're on unemployment, go do this stuff. But if you can, particularly local businesses too, if you can support, I put a deposit down on a bike that I'm going to buy later in the year, but I plunked some money down earlier this week because they're open one day a week doing repairs because for some people that's their transportation. And we depend on these. There's a lot of businesses we depend on every day without thinking of the, what the impact that something like this has on them. It's not just restaurants. My sister works for Paul Mitchell Corporation, and there's tons of hairdressers out there that are very much hand-to-mouth businesses that are going to have a very tough time because they can't be open. I know. I wish I not that I go anyplace great. I actually go to a Supercuts, but I have the same woman cut my hair. I'd almost would love if I could get money there. We're paying the person who cleans our house, even though we're not having her come.
Right.
Because why? That's the kind of person who is destitute without.
But again, if there's places that you can buy a gift certificate and that you can redeem it later and you'll get the benefit of that, it's going to mean a lot to them right now. So it's not a bad thing to think about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going next? I'm reading. What's going to go? What's in the box?
Show you in the box. Who's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Regular Joe's What's in the Box.
We had this all out of order, but don't worry about it. So Barry, why don't you go? What's in the box?
All right. I think the last time we did this segment, I talked about an Ewok combat glider, vintage Ewok combat glider I had gotten as a new piece in my vintage Star Wars collection. And I actually bought something on eBay 2 weeks ago. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, and it showed up, and I've been quarantining everything that comes in the mail in my garage for like a week before I'll open it. So
just wipe down the boxes and then throw the box away.
It's almost like deferred gratification, which is kind of fun too, to like get it, know it's out there and not open it. But let me turn my background off again. So I just opened this up yesterday, but I also I ordered another vintage Ewok toy. This is the Ewok Combat Assault Catapult.
Combat Assault.
It's actually Assault Catapult. it cracks me up that they would have called this Assault back in the day, but this is from Return of the Jedi. Actually this one came in a box, and the box had it had the instructions, it had the little brochure that showed all the other toys in the line. But this is a little toy functioning catapult that you can crank the thing back and it'll shoot these little boulders. I have to get a couple Ewoks to display it with, but it was in perfect condition. It had been assembled, but I mean the box is in great shape, the toy's in great shape. I got a good deal on it, and so yet another toy in my vintage Star Wars collection. I've been going after the little things because the big things scare me. Like I would eventually at this point like to get one of everything, but
is there more Ewok weaponry that you haven't accumulated yet? Do you have like the swinging ball on the tree, or
so? There's two other Ewok toys I don't have. One of them is the Ewok Village, which is a big play set. I don't have anywhere to display it. I don't intend to set up a display of Star Wars toys big enough to display that. So that'll be. I don't know if I'll ever get that. The other one was in the last year of Star Wars toys, of proper Star Wars toys, before they went to Ewoks and droids. They made something called the Ewok Battle Wagon, which is like this four-wheeled vehicle that had like a battering ram on it and a big skull on the front of it. And it's actually really rare because it was in that Power of the Force line, which was like the end of the Star Wars line. They repurposed the tooling for that when they made Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. And there's actually a Robin Hood Battle Wagon that looks almost identical to the Ewok one. But I don't see myself getting that anytime soon either. So I think I've got just about all the Ewok toys I'm going to have for a while.
So, Dave, do you remember the Mego Planet of the Apes figures from the TV show?
Yeah.
Okay. They made a car for them.
I don't remember a car.
Looked like it was made out of wood.
It was
These like wooden wheels and stuff like that. But it had like a rust-colored metal engine. It never appeared in the series, but it looked like they'd had the engine from a 20th century car, but like with a wooden steering wheel and on a raft.
It was probably repurposed from like Starsky and Hutch.
Are you sure
car.
that was not like an aftermarket thing? Because I'm googling this.
It was in one of the catalogs. It was a catalog exclusive, but I always thought it was. But I was so excited when I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this must be on next season." It wasn't on next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just it's like a Planet of the Apes car.
Yeah, it's not showing up on a Google search.
Yeah, no, I never had it, but I wanted it, and like I said, I remember seeing pictures of it in the catalog, and but yeah, so anyways, but it sounds just like that. Yeah, so
yeah, the Ewok Battle Wagon. So, Todd, what's in the box?
Okay, so for me, it's what's in the iPad, because it's
you got to turn your background off.
Yeah. So
we're on Zoom with virtual backgrounds that screw everything up.
So I'm in a holodeck, so everything keeps disappearing. So, anyways, the book I'm listening to right now is The Higher Frontier. It's a most recent original series Star Trek book by Christopher Bennett. It is really, really good. And if you, I've said this many times, and hopefully some of you have done this at least once, but with Audible, your first book is free. So if you sign up or just keep creating new emails, you can sign up and get a book free. This is actually a really, really good book. It takes place between the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan, and kind of covers that span. So you see Chekhov leave to go to be on his ship, on the Reliant. You see various things happen. You get the evolution from Kirk finally giving up the Enterprise for the second time and going to work at the Academy, and it's a really, really good story. And like I said, there's a lot tied in there. It's good. And if you like that era Trek, it fills in a lot of pieces. Christopher Bennett, who wrote it, does really, really good with this stuff. Taking all the little pieces that are known and just kind of weaving them together. And it's a great story. But I texted you guys earlier. One of the things that I really like about his books is he kind of weaves the continuity from the animated series also into the series when he can. Mm-hmm. So a couple characters have shown up over the years. In my favorite episode of the animated series, it was Yesteryear, where Spock where they have the Guardian of Forever, and Spock is inadvertently killed as a child, and Spock has to go back in time and correct that. In the timeline where he's dead, the second officer of the Enterprise, or first officer of the Enterprise, is a Andorian named Thalen, and he's one of the principal characters in the story. Or his this reality version of him is, and at one point he finally stops, Spock, and says, "Why do you and Kirk look at me funny all the time?" Because he and Kirk are the only ones that actually remember him from the messed up timeline.
Oh, that's funny.
So, but
is that hot cat lady in?
What's that? The hot cat lady is gone. She left before they refit the Enterprise, but she was in previous stories. Yes. So, anyways, it's like I said, it's fun. It's very much, it's very much in keeping with the series. It's good. I will also say that the Robert Petkoff, the reader, does some really, really good voices. His Kirk is okay. His Spock is okay. His McCoy is dead on. Scotty's low hanging fruit. His Sulu is fantastic. And in this one, we get a whole bunch of Paul Winfield, who is Chekhov's captain on the Reliant, and he's perfect. He does it. It's like Paul Winfield read the lines. It's like it's taking the time to do that is just it's very impressive. So, anyways, I highly recommend it at the higher frontier. So if you get, like I said, if you can still get that free credit or you're an Audible subscriber, it's definitely worth spending the time with it. Some of the Star Trek books are a bit uneven. All of the original series books from the last 3 years have been great. They're really, really good, very well written, and very much stay within the boundaries of canon. So enjoyable. Something to do with your time. Dave, what do you got?
Cool. All right. My purchasing of autographed pictures continues. There's a lot of people selling a lot of autographed pictures, I guess.
Yeah, they're
making money. So I picked these up from one of our group members, the other group, not the Star Wars, but I've got Vision here.
Oh, nice. Paul
Oh,
Bettany.
wow, nice. Paul Bettany. And, you can't have Vision alone. So there's Wanda.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That's a
Autographed
good
picture.
picture. Go back to the Vision for a second. That's a great pose.
That is like
this is a great picture.
That
yeah.
is a perfect pose for a signature right there too.
Yeah, that is so that, and that's nice. He goes this way, and then next to him, I'm going to put him up on my Avengers wall with her. It's hard to see in this light, but here's her signature right here, Elizabeth Olsen. So yeah,
those are great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of I've been tempted to buy a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people selling a lot of autographs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because there's enough people, I guess, that are either out of work or needing money to pay for things that are selling a lot of stuff. If you're somebody who's got the means right now, there's a lot of good deals.
Yeah, it's also got a lot to do with the market's just not there. I think it's not as much that there's. I think to some degree there's people selling their stuff, but I think to a larger degree there's not a lot of people bidding against you.
But in this group we're in, you're in the regular autograph universe.
Yeah, I'm in
there
both
are people
of them.
listing just 75 autographs at a time. A couple guys who have massive collections.
Really?
I mean, if you think about it, though, there's a lot of guys who, for better or for worse, make their living by doing in-person autographs and selling them, and you can't get in-person autographs right now. So
Nope. That's not a thing.
businesses are hurting too.
Yeah, there's a guy. And I've been tempted. No, I won't mention his name, so it doesn't matter. But he's got Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. autographs. The autographs are definitely in person. They're not full blown autographs.
Yeah, that's the problem with. I've seen them too, and
he does not.
What I've learned from being more involved in this autograph stuff is that when you get somebody to do a private signing and they sit down, you get their full name or a really good autograph, and when you get them on the street and they're rushing, you get a squiggle sometimes. So while it was signed by that person, it doesn't necessarily when you look at it doesn't necessarily look like their name.
I doubt he'll ever sit down. So
no, I don't disagree, but
But I've been trying to get all the
some
Avengers.
of them look better than others.
So I would love to have him. I'd love to have him on my Iron Man helmet, but that's fairly.
Although we never thought Harrison Ford would do it either. So hope springs eternal.
Exactly. So, But yeah, there's plenty of deals out there. That is it. But last thoughts. I think we all had a collective last thought. As yesterday, I believe, was the 50th anniversary of Apollo 13.
Yep.
And most of us know what happened from the movie, but it certainly was a real thing. It wasn't only Tom Hanks.
The most successful failed mission in space history.
Yeah. And, it was at a time when, it was only the third mission and people stopped caring already about, old news going to the moon. But it really brought people in because of the tragedy of what happened. Yet it was, successful. Jim Lovell is still with us. I saw him interviewed. He's, one of the most traveled astronauts. He and the crew of the Apollo 13 have the record from being the furthest from Earth of any astronauts, because they actually didn't go into lunar orbit. They long shot around, which is needed to be further from the moon. So they have traveled the farthest out into space of any human beings. I know we talk about, I was 5 at the time. I don't really remember seeing it, but that movie and we've talked about it, just does such an amazing job of putting that story together.
They really do. There's a little compacting, and there's a little things here and there, but they tell every necessary element of that story. I think they illustrate the characters really, really well, and I think it's also entertaining. It's sometimes you take history and you dole out pure history, and you're like, okay, yeah. And this is, even knowing the full events, you can watch this and be thoroughly entertained by it.
And
he did a really great job with it.
The book is based on Lovell's book,
Lost Moon,
which is not written to be. It was not written to be an entertainment novel the way they turned it into.
Yep. Yeah.
And I do think this is an example of Ron Howard making a great movie.
And I will say, Lost Moon is an extremely factual account, and I think which I think was interpreted into something much more palatable for most people. Yeah.
And that's another movie I think it's on. There's not a time it's on that you can't just pick up and watch anytime.
Anytime.
It's 25 years old. It's 1995, I think.
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
They could have made that 2 years ago, and you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really good. Great cast, and they do. He did a really, really good job with it, and
yeah,
it's one of Ron Howard's many great achievements in film, along with
as
Splash,
I said, it's an example of
Willow.
a good example of his work. Refer to episode number, what was that? 330.
Just the last episode. I'm still reeling from the last one.
Oh, it was the last episode. Was that the last episode?
It was the last episode. The wound is still fresh.
Yeah, a little bit.
I will say it is
the
a,
wound started
it is a great
in
achievement.
1998 or 1988. What year was it? I don't remember.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and I think it's one of these things where, like I said, I think it's probably, the incident is probably better known because of the film than what actually occurred at this point. I think it's a footnote in history without the film, but it was significant. It was really significant. When you think about it, it's like, no one came this close and pulled back from it before. This was an amazing accomplishment, pulling off this, getting those men back safely and getting, it was,
given how much damage and how crippled the ship was. I mean, and I don't think anybody really understood it at the time.
The degree to which they had no margin for, none of these missions had margin for error, significant margin for error. And, it's an amazing, just as the Apollo missions themselves were, it is an amazing feat of humanity.
Yeah, and it's funny. You see more modern stuff, even like For All Mankind, which you talked about a couple of weeks ago. NASA really didn't do stuff with like, here's what this does, and this is how it does it. It's not like, oh yeah, let's just sort of retool this. They didn't work that way.
No.
Things did specific things, and there was no sort of fly by the seat of your pants, and that's what they had to do, which was pretty awesome.
One of the greatest scenes in that movie, and I mean, it really happened, but when they basically dump the box of stuff on the table and they're like, this is what they have to work with, make it work.
Yeah.
And you know, they're duct taping things together, and they figured it out. And you know, that to me was always one of the greatest scenes in that movie, because that's like, you couldn't do that today.
No, it's really, really amazing.
So if anyone has not seen that movie, go see it. It still holds up. And it's interesting that in 1995, before they chose to make the Apollo 13 story before they chose to make the Apollo 11 story, because, we didn't really get an Apollo 11 movie until really First Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost more compelling to tell the story about the mission that went wrong than the mission that went right.
Exactly.
Right. And again, I think it's a lesser known story to a good degree, but I am old enough to remember it. And I can remember sitting there in front of TV on the floor in the living room during that long pause, and asking my dad if they were dead, and his not answering and my knowing what that not answering meant. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh wait, he didn't say "Shut up, Todd, and go get me another beer"?
No, he did not. He most definitely did not. So, but you put it this way: he wasn't going to lie to his son,
right?
And at that point, no one knew one way or another. It's like I said, pretty amazing moment. So,
yeah. But check out the book. Check out the movie. Look up Jim Lovell is still out there talking to people. I got an autograph picture of him up there. It's actually from his Apollo 8 mission. He was one of the few that's been on multiple missions to the moon. Unfortunately, he never got to land on it, but he's definitely been there a couple times.
Yep.
And I think that's that. Any other last thoughts?
I'm going to throw one last thing out there quick. And I know a lot of people are like making masks and stuff like that. And by all means, as an alternative to using a mask that a healthcare provider could use, you definitely should cobble something up yourself. If you want to order something and you want to order something nicely done that you'll get fairly quickly, I have a mask here I showed you guys earlier from BeFastSportswear.com, and it's a very small operation, and they donate masks along with the ones that they make. And you can pick out a bunch of different colors, and it takes just about a week. And if you get 3 of them, it's free shipping. And they're very reasonable, and it's very, very well made. So it's definitely worth, if you are going to venture out and you want to have a mask that you wear daily, it's good to have something like this. And again, please leave the medical grade ones for people who need them.
And please wear something. Again, I've been out, and there's just an incredible number of people not wearing masks or gloves, and you gotta, you should.
So again, BeFastSportswear.com, and like I said, they're pretty quick. So
cool.
Tell them the regular Joe sent you.
Tell them the regular Joe sent you.
That won't get you anything, but
neither will it to anybody else. But
I got a lovely black mask. I'll put a picture of it. I will, if you guys get me your pictures, I'll get the website up today this week. I've been a little busy, so I'm behind, but I will get caught up this week. And I got a lovely black mask suitable for both shopping and the odd robbery. So it's good.
There you go. Perfect. So be safe out there. Help a small business. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.